Hey, it is Xennial Gamer, and today we're going to be doing something kind of unique, I think, which is a world boss video. So let's start off just by showing right here we're ranked 99. We'll update after we've gone. It's just after midnight, but we will show you past record. My best finish is number 47, and then we're going to talk a little bit about how you do well in world boss. Okay, so to begin with, we don't know the exact mechanics of World Boss, but we do know some pretty good, strong guidelines. First and foremost is that water monsters are always going to do the best because they have attribute advantage over the boss, or more specifically, the boss is water and fire, so you get attribute advantage and attribute neutrality. If you have fire, then you would have one disadvantage and one neutrality. If you have wind, you have one advantage, one disadvantage. Light dark are double neutrality. Now, what appears to be the single biggest factor in the boss is skill ups. So you'll see every monster on this front page right here is a max skilled monster for me. Most of them are water monsters. As we slide down, we'll see that there's a mix of more water and wind, but a fully skilled water monster is going to be your best world boss monster. So there's some Reddit posts out there about a guy who built 40 cons even before con was 2.8 in order to test world boss. And part of that is because Con has a lot of skill ups. That's one part. Now, the second factor for World Boss is going to be the multipliers of stats, but it's actually based on how much is added to the stat. So this is a little tricky, but basically a monster that has a disproportionately high stat in one specific area. For example, Teor has 911 base attack. That is really high for most monsters. If we compared that to Ciara, who's also a Nat 5, she's 801. She's an attack type, but much lower. If we compared it to an Amelia, she would... Amelia doesn't want to pop up. If we Really? Come on, there we go. If we compare it to Amelia, it's 637. So Teor has this super high base attack. And so if I'm giving him a lot of boosted attack, for example, if he were attack crit damage attack instead of speed crit damage attack, he would count for higher on my world boss. So here is a prime example for you, this Gildong that you see down here. And Gildong is arguably the best world boss monster. We'll talk about that in a minute. So Gildong has 845 base attack. So I have him ruined in attack, crit rate attack. Now, he would actually score higher on the world boss if he was in triple attack. And I have ruined him that way in the past just for world boss, but I actually switched up his runes after he got buffed because I wanted to test him out and still haven't tested him out. But in the meantime, so the point is what you want to do is take that monster's highest base stat and then multiply that stat as much as you can because the world boss works off of the raw stats added. Now, it does work for every stat that's added as well. So the answer to the question, does efficiency matter, is yes. Efficiency matters because the more stats you put on the monster, the higher they're going to rank on World Boss. So let's look at another example. Let's take a look at like Fran or Lauren, the first one that we can find. Here's a Lauren. So my Lauren has plus 598 defense. That's more than 100% added through. It's actually less because she gets the 160 from slot 3, but it's almost 100% defense added through subs, and that 100% defense, she'd be what, plus 438, so it's about 90% defense. Let's call it 85. So the 85% defense added through subs on Lauren was worth 430 defense. If I did the same thing on Amarna, it would be worth 550 defense. So the efficiency matters because it adds stats, but the base stat that's being multiplied matters because it talks about the quantity of stats that are added. So if your whole goal is just to maximize world boss score, then you want to take monsters that have a highest stat in a specific area, and then you want to multiply that stat as much as possible. And that brings us back to Gildong. Why is Gildong one of the best world boss monsters? Because he's a Nat 4 that can be skilled up with Nat 3s. He has a crap ton of skill ups. He has 16 added skill ups. He's a water monster, and then he has that 845 base attack, which is through the roof for a Nat 4 and actually higher than most Nat 5s. So if you put him in triple attack, he's just going to be like one of the highest scoring monsters you can get. Now, obviously, Nat 5s will score higher on the world boss. That's why Gildong is a little bit lower on my list. But even look at the positioning here, he's above my Tayor. Now, Tayor is a Nat 5 with 911 attack, but I have less attack percentage boosted on him, and he has less skill ups, so Gildong ranks higher. So now the next question is, should you build monsters for World Boss? My answer would be no. I did when I was much earlier in the game. I built monsters like Gildong and Lumericia and Herney. And what I found is that I boosted my World Boss ranking pretty quick. I got to Triple S much sooner than my rune quality probably should have allowed me to do. But the rewards from World Boss are not that good, so it's kind of a status thing. If you want that Triple S on your profile card, then you can build monsters for it. Otherwise, what I would do, what I recommend, is to rune all of the monsters you use to the best of your ability, and then if you have leftover runes, and we're going to use this Gildong again, we're just going to keep beating this dead horse. I don't use a lot of Endure runes. I use some, and I took the Endure runes that I use, and I put them on the monsters I use, and then when I have leftover Endure runes, especially like a slot 2 attack Endure, it doesn't really fit almost anything. Slot 2 attack Endure is like, you're going to be using that on PvE monsters who don't need resistance. So it winds up just being a really high efficiency rune that serves no other purpose. In that case, I stick it on a World Boss monster just because it gives me 0.000000001% chance of getting a Devilmon better. I think I get a Devilmon maybe once every 4 or 5 months out of World Boss, but Devilmons are like gold, and every extra Devilmon you can get is absolutely a benefit. So that does give you a slightly better chance at getting a Devilmon. And then if you're free to play and you can get a slightly higher rank in World Boss, you also get a few extra crystals once a week every time the World Boss resets. So let's go ahead and see how my World Boss teams go. And I'm just going to skip through the animations here, but on a personal note, I think the animations for World Boss are one of the coolest animations in the game. I love how each of the monsters actually does kind of their own skills and their own thing throughout the fight. On a side note, I have never my highest World Boss score was just under 2.3 million. So when my first team goes only at 2.07, I know it's going to be a low day. I've never gotten Triple S on all 3 teams, but I have gotten Triple S on the 3rd team. So the 2nd and the 3rd team take turns between going Triple S. And that's the only monster I really have ruined specifically for World Boss right now is Gildong. But a couple of these monsters I ruined because they boosted my World Boss score, like Mi Yang. I almost never use her. She's in usable runes, I just forget about her a lot. But she was originally ruined for World Boss, and then I think I just boosted her stats a little bit. If you didn't know, there is some variation in the World Boss score. I don't know what the mechanic is or what causes it, but what I do know is that you should always use the auto-assign. So the game will still automatically assign the monsters that are best suited for... Wow, that's the lowest score I've had in ages. I chose the right day to do this video, didn't I? So yes, the World Boss does have some variations in it, but the game will still assign the 20 best monsters based on that variation. And so you should really just use the auto assign. So let's go ahead and see where we are at for World Boss now. Okay, so we're up to rank 9 on World Boss. That's pretty nice. Obviously, it won't stay that way. It's only 20 minutes after server reset right now, so I will still drop down quite a bit throughout the day. Okay, a few last notes about World Boss. Things like resistance and accuracy, they do count. There are some Reddit threads that show you exactly how much each thing counts. But generally speaking, they all count somewhat equally. Some things count for a tiny bit more or less. However, resistance and accuracy, those types of stats that are not grindable, will lower the rune's efficiency. And so again, while the World Boss does not calculate score based off of efficiency specifically, it calculates score based off of the total stats you add. So if a rune has 8 accuracy versus 8 HP, that might count for the same thing from the World Boss, but the 8 HP can then be grinded, which would then count for more in the World Boss. So if you're talking about World Boss specific runes, basically a higher efficiency rune gives you more points, but not because of the efficiency, but because of the stats it adds. Things like flat stats will count in the World Boss, and that's not a multiplier. So it doesn't matter if you're adding defense to the monster that has tons of HP. it's okay because it's adding the same number of stats either way. Now, the last thought I'll leave you with is if you are a free-to-play player and you are looking at the world boss on a day when it's going to reset. Okay, now the last thought I'm going to leave you with, let's say that you're a free-to-play player and you count on the crystals coming from world boss. And let's say that you're somewhere between this elite and the master, the F3 and the C1 level. It's a 25 crystal difference. So if you see the world boss is going to reset early in the day, and you have a choice, you might wait until after the world boss resets because maybe getting in the extra attack means next time you could jump all the way up to C3 and gain additional crystals. Now that's going to depend a lot based on how much damage you're doing, and I can't really tell you exactly if there's a specific level when you should make that decision or when you shouldn't, but as with all other things in the game, it's something that you can simply test. So try it one time, and if you notice that you're able to jump up 2 or 3 levels in World Boss by skipping that extra attack, then it's something that you can plan for in the future. Okay guys, so that is it for today's video. As always, I hope you found it helpful, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Hey guys, if you're still with me to this point, then that means that you probably liked the video, found it entertaining, or even better, both. So please smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below because those things help the channel grow, and more importantly, they show me that the video is useful, and that's the whole reason I do this in the first place.